Number 1. Oil used to be the oxygen of the Venezuelan economy. Looking solely at the energy map, Venezuela appears like a sleeping giant. The country is estimated to possess over 300 billion barrels of proven oil, equivalent to approximately 17–18% of the planet's oil reserves, even more than Saudi Arabia. But what makes the story remarkable isn't just that enormous number, but how oil shaped and then led to the decline of Venezuela's economy over the past century. From the late 1940s to around 1970, Venezuela was considered one of the world's largest oil exporters, a major supplier to the US and European markets. Oil provided a substantial source of foreign exchange, accounting for over 90% of exports and more than 60% of government revenue during its heyday in the mid-20th century. The entire national development strategy revolved around the slogan, "Farming with Oil," using oil money to build roads, hospitals, schools, and provide social welfare. For many years, Venezuela had one of the highest per capita incomes in Latin America, even approaching half that of the United States in the 1950s. But this near-absolute dependence also made the economy extremely fragile. By the early 2000s, oil accounted for approximately 95 to 96% of exports and nearly half to two-thirds of the state budget. When world oil prices plummeted after 2014, coupled with years of poor management, corruption, deteriorating infrastructure, and sanctions, the giant oil machine began to falter. Venezuela's oil production has declined from over 3.5 million barrels per day in the late 1990s to around 1 to 1.1 million barrels per day by 2025, less than a third of its peak. Despite still possessing the world's largest reserves, oil export revenue in 2023 was only about $4 billion, a tiny fraction of the over $180 billion Saudi Arabia earned from oil in the same year. For the people, oil was once like the oxygen of the economy. When oil money flowed in strongly, everything seemed easier. But when oil prices fell, production plummeted, and the production system paralyzed, the entire country felt like it was suffering from oxygen deprivation. Now, even as the world returns to discussing the revival of Venezuela's oil industry, the big question remains: how much longer can a nation breathe well on just one oxygen tank called oil? Number 2. The worst economic collapse in peacetime world history. To understand Venezuela's current economic disaster, we must begin with the turning point of 1998, the moment a former soldier became president and ushered in an entirely new chapter for this oil-rich nation. In 1998, Hugo Chávez, a populist figure with a strong anti-establishment and anti-American stance, won the presidential election. He declared he would lead a Bolivar revolution aimed at combating inequality, eradicating poverty, and redistributing wealth. In his early years in power, Chávez profoundly transformed Venezuela's economy and politics, nationalizing the oil industry, expanding state power, and using oil revenues to fund large-scale welfare programs. This resulted in initial improvements in healthcare, education, and poverty reduction. But the decision to nationalize the oil industry, instead of maintaining effective cooperation with international oil companies, caused PDVSA, the National Oil Company, to gradually lose its technical capacity and investment, as many experts were laid off for political reasons and international assets were tightly controlled. As a result, although oil continued to flow into the state treasury, the industry, which played a central role in the economy, did not develop as sustainably as before. Wikipedia. Chávez also shifted Venezuela's diplomatic focus, reducing its dependence on the US and seeking strategic relationships with Russia, China, and Iran in exchange for loans, weapons, and political support. This reshaped the country's geopolitics, creating a model that opposed Washington in the region. When Hugo Chávez died in 2013, he left a messy legacy for his successor, Nicolás Maduro. When world oil prices plummeted and the economy, entirely dependent on oil, could not withstand the shock, Venezuela's economy began a free fall. Under Maduro's regime, in less than a decade, the country experienced an extremely deep economic collapse. GDP fell by more than 75 to 80% from its heyday, inflation soared, at times exceeding hundreds of thousands of percent, causing the national currency to lose most of its value, and the lives of the middle class were almost wiped out. It wasn't just a shrinking economy. The crisis was accompanied by hyperinflation, food shortages, medicine scarcity, and the collapse of public services. This is considered one of the world's worst peacetime economic collapses, where a resource-rich nation fell into widespread deprivation and poverty. Number 3. The Great Migration and the Lives of the People. If you only read the macroeconomic figures, you'll see a seemingly less bad picture. Official inflation for 2024 is projected at around 48%, the lowest in 12 years, following hyperinflation exceeding 180 to 200% in previous years. The government talks about a return to positive growth, but when you step outside, walk into working-class neighborhoods, take a crowded bus, or stand in line at the grocery store, you'll realize a different truth. For the majority of the population, the crisis has only changed form. It hasn't disappeared. Humanitarian organizations estimate that by 2024-2025, nearly 70% of Venezuela's population will live in multidimensional poverty, meaning they lack not only income, but also access to healthcare, education, stable employment, and adequate housing. Approximately 7 to 7.5 million people nationwide need humanitarian assistance, from food and child nutrition to clean water and basic healthcare services. In many areas, the problem isn't the lack of hospitals on the map, but rather that over 70% of those surveyed say they cannot access healthcare when needed, medicines are scarce and too expensive, and hospitals are constantly hampered by power outages, water shortages, and dilapidated infrastructure. Even basic needs like electricity and water cannot be taken for granted. Independent reports show prolonged rolling power outages and water shortages. Nearly 20 million people face very limited water distribution, and an estimated 86% of the population uses water that does not meet safety standards, increasing the risk of intestinal diseases and other health problems. That's why you'll see familiar scenes: water tanks outside houses, people waiting for tankers, and communities having to fend for themselves to pump, store, and filter water for their families. Simultaneously, around 9 million people are facing food insecurity. Meals are becoming simpler and less protein-rich, and child malnutrition rates are alarmingly high. It's not surprising that, in this context, over 7.9 million Venezuelans have left the country in the past decade, one of the largest migrations in modern Latin American history. Those who remain are learning to live with power outages, weak water supply, unreliable medicine, and wages that often lag behind prices. The news talks about public debt, restructuring, sanctions, and the rebuilding of the oil industry. But at the dinner table every evening, the conversation still revolves around very small things: what they manage to buy today, whether they'll have medicine for their children tomorrow, and whether they'll have enough money to pay the rent at the end of the month. If you look at the growth and inflation figures and then look at everyday life like that, will you believe the statistics or believe what people are facing every day? Number 4. The truth about the beauty kingdom of Venezuela. Besides being an oil powerhouse, Venezuela is also renowned for its top beauty pageant titles, having long been a beauty powerhouse with an impressive record, winning 7 Miss Universe crowns, 6 Miss World titles, 9 Miss International titles, and dozens of other awards. In total, the country has won nearly 30 major titles. This has given rise to the humorous saying, "If you meet 10 people on the street, 9 of them will look like beauty queens." Another frequently mentioned saying is, "Their trainers are also beauty queens." However, to conquer international competitions, natural beauty is only a small part of the equation. Venezuela boasts over 20 beauty pageant training centers, where contestants are taught not only foreign languages, makeup, and performance skills, but also communication and social etiquette. Some centers even have psychologists to help contestants cope with stress throughout the preparation process. In these places, the philosophy emphasized is that no effort is wasted. To achieve decades of dominance, the physical characteristics of Venezuelan women must be mentioned. They have honey-brown skin, deep eyes, a harmonious face, thick, healthy hair, and a captivating smile. This is the perfect combination of the fiery beauty of Latin women, the gentleness of American women, and the characteristic confidence of Venezuelan women. However, to meet international beauty standards, many Venezuelan girls have undergone extreme physical transformations. Some girls have had nose surgery, buttock augmentation, and breast augmentation at a very young age, sometimes as early as 12 years old. In particular, some parents are willing to allow their daughters to use hormones to prolong puberty in order to achieve ideal height. A terrifying weight loss method emerged in Venezuela, where girls intentionally injured their tongues to make chewing painful, ate only liquid food, and lost up to 15 kilos in a month. However, in recent years, Venezuelan women have begun to develop a new awareness of health and natural beauty. They choose a healthy lifestyle, exercise, eat a balanced diet, and are confident in their natural beauty without needing to drastically change themselves to meet beauty standards. If you would like to learn more about the personalities, love lives, or behind-the-scenes stories of Venezuelan beauty queens, please comment number 4. Number 5. Cultural shocks in Venezuela. In Venezuela, the lottery is not just a form of entertainment, but also a source of hope for many amidst a struggling economy. With rising inflation and limited job opportunities, the lottery has become the only chance for people to dream of a better life. The most popular game is the triple, a 3-digit lottery with 3 draws per day. Lottery tickets can be found everywhere, from small shops and newsstands to street vendors, becoming an integral part of daily life for Venezuelans. You can easily spot people holding lottery tickets, hoping that today will be a lucky day that changes their lives. Interestingly, Venezuelans don't choose numbers randomly. They have their own belief system for selecting numbers. For example, if they encounter bad luck, they will choose numbers associated with misfortune. If they see an unfamiliar license plate or dream about an acquaintance, they will consult dream interpretation books to find lucky numbers. Many radio stations even have programs dedicated to predicting lottery results, sharing strategies from those considered experts in the field. Additionally, lottery discussion groups are very popular on social media, where people exchange experiences and tips for winning. Besides the love of the lottery, one thing that surprises visitors is Venezuela's attitude towards skin color. Words like negro or negrito, while potentially confusing to translate, are used affectionately, not offensively. However, when it comes to religion, this is a more sensitive topic. Because the majority of Venezuelans are Catholic, opposing or atheistic views are not always discussed openly, especially in initial encounters. Furthermore, another difference that visitors often encounter when visiting Venezuela is the issue of toilet paper. Here, toilet paper is not flushed down the toilet, but must be disposed of in a trash can. The reason is that the sewer system is too old and prone to clogging. Even toilet paper dissolving in water can cause blockages. That's why many Venezuelans only realize the difference when they move abroad. Some shared that they continued to throw toilet paper in the trash when they went to the US and had to explain why. Only then did they realize that in many countries, toilet paper is flushed directly down the toilet without any problems. Number 6. Tribal culture sparks curiosity in Venezuela. Did you know that the English word for cannibalism actually originates from the name of a tribe in Venezuela? The Carib tribe, living along the northern coast of Venezuela and the Caribbean Sea, is the origin of this term. When Christopher Columbus arrived there in the late 15th century, he heard many stories of Caribs attacking neighboring tribes and cannibalizing their enemies. Some European sailors even claimed to have witnessed Carib warriors cooking their enemies in large pots. The term Carib, from the tribe's name, was gradually mispronounced by the Spanish as canoba, and then transformed into cannibal in English. However, to this day, there is no concrete evidence to prove that the Caribs actually practiced cannibalism. Some historians believe these stories were fabricated to increase fear and consolidate the power of the Carib warriors. In Venezuela, another extremely unique tribe is the Yanomami. This tribe lives deep within the Amazon rainforest, one of South America's oldest indigenous communities. The Yanomami live in enormous, circular communal houses called llanos or chabonos, each capable of housing over 400 people. The central space of these houses is dedicated to rituals and festivals, making it a vibrant jungle festival at night, where everyone participates in communal activities. The Yanomami culture is also unique and contains many unusual rituals. When a person dies, they are not buried but cremated, and the ashes are crushed and mixed with water or banana soup to eat. They believe that in this way, the soul of the deceased will return and continue to live in the community, preserving the tribe's cultural values and beliefs. The Yanomami are also known as one of the most warlike tribes in the Amazon, where boys are trained to fight from a very young age. Rituals involving combat and the slaying of enemies are considered ways to demonstrate the loyalty and strength of a warrior. Particularly in western Venezuela, the Bari tribe has a very different marriage custom. Here, polyandry is common, where a woman can have multiple husbands. These husbands not only share affection, but also care for and protect their children together. Children in the village call all the husbands father, because for the Bari, a child's development depends on the love and care of many men in the community, not just one. Unusually, the Bari do not celebrate birthdays. Instead, they hold a first hunt ceremony. When a boy catches his first animal, it is the official sign of his coming of age, and he is allowed to participate in important tribal rituals. Number 7. Unexpected facts about Venezuela. Venezuela is a country not only rich in emotion, but also with many unique customs and beliefs. Venezuelans express their feelings very strongly, and hugging, kissing, or holding hands in public is not only accepted, but sometimes considered a sign of true love. In this culture, if a couple doesn't openly display affection, it can lead others to question their relationship. Even older couples sitting in parks happily approve when they see couples kissing. Meanwhile, discussing salaries, income, or personal expenses is considered impolite and can be offensive, as Venezuelans emphasize emotions and relationships more than material matters. Body language communication is also an important aspect to consider. Some hand gestures that are normal and natural in many places can be interpreted completely differently in Venezuela. For example, the OK gesture with a circle formed by the thumb and index finger, which has a positive meaning in the US or Europe, is considered vulgar in Venezuela. This aligns with research on Latin American gestures in general, where certain hand movements carry different meanings and can sometimes be misinterpreted if unfamiliar with the local culture. Cultural atlas. Similarly, a thumbs up in some areas may be interpreted as "go away" rather than a simple compliment. Therefore, in informal communication, travelers should prioritize smiles and words over hand gestures to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings. Clothing in Venezuela is also a deeply ingrained cultural indicator. Venezuelans tend to place more emphasis on appearance than many of their neighbors, and how you dress can influence how others treat you. One survey showed that 87% of Venezuelans admitted to judging others based on their clothing, indicating this is very common in society. In particular, the color yellow is considered unlucky and is often avoided on important occasions such as exams or job interviews. Furthermore, Venezuela has very distinctive customs. Passengers often applaud when a plane lands safely, a habit stemming from the time when outdated runways caused many domestic flights to malfunction, and each safe landing is considered a joyous event. In addition, during special occasions like Easter week or election periods, the government bans the sale and consumption of alcohol, and police have the right to inspect and confiscate alcoholic beverages, even in bars if violations occur. This creates a no alcohol season throughout the country, and many tourists have inadvertently broken the law simply by opening a can of beer at an inappropriate time. Number 8. When paradise turns into a slum. In the heart of Caracas, there once stood a skyscraper envisioned to become a symbol of the country's financial power, the Tower of David, or Centro Financiero con Finanzas, nearly 200 meters tall with 45 floors. Construction began in the 1990s with investment from businessman David Brillembourg. However, before completion, Venezuela experienced a banking crisis in 1994, Brillembourg passed away, and the project was abandoned. With electricity, water, and elevators not yet installed, the building became deserted. In 2007, amidst a severe housing crisis, displaced families began occupying the space, transforming it into a slum along its bare concrete floors. Today, the Tower of David is considered the world's tallest slum, home to nearly 3,000 residents. They transformed an unfinished building into a self-governing vertical city from raw concrete. Residents renovated it themselves, provided temporary electricity and water, built staircases, and used motorbikes on the lower floors because the building lacked an elevator. Each floor was organized like a neighborhood with its own representatives, rules, and service fees, turning the building not just into a place to live, but a small society in the heart of the city. Some documents even show that this community has appeared in architectural and sociological studies as a model of how people adapt to a deserted environment, building their own infrastructure, shops, and services within an unfinished concrete framework. Utdesign.com. However, the story of Venezuela doesn't end there. If the Tower of David is a symbol of creativity and resilience in the face of a housing crisis, the prison world there reflects a different kind of chaos. A famous example is El Helicoide, a building in Caracas that was converted into a detention facility for the Bolivar Intelligence Agency, SEBIN. Originally designed as a shopping mall, the building was instead used as a detention center, facing numerous allegations of harsh conditions and human rights violations, making it one of Venezuela's most notorious prisons. Number 9. Venezuelan nightlife. Despite struggling with power outages and a difficult economic situation, Venezuela's nightlife remains vibrant and full of life. In working-class neighborhoods, especially barrios, after sunset, people often bring chairs out onto the sidewalks, turn on speakers, and blast music, transforming narrow streets into lively gathering places for neighbors. Even without electricity, they find ways to maintain the party atmosphere by using flashlights, candles, or battery-powered LED lights, creating an energetic musical atmosphere throughout the night. The streets here are often filled with music, with reggaeton, salsa, and merengue melodies echoing from Bluetooth speakers or makeshift sound systems mounted on balconies, from cars, or any place that can play music. Groups of young people gather on street corners, sharing drinks, dancing, chatting, and laughing as if the outside world doesn't exist. This creates a cheerful and communal atmosphere, especially as people create memorable moments together during evenings filled with music. In rural areas, the nighttime atmosphere is more peaceful and cozy. When the indoor temperature is too hot or stuffy, people often bring chairs outside to enjoy the cool breeze from the open space. Playing dominoes, chatting, and relaxing together becomes a daily routine. Sometimes, they even light a barbecue on the sidewalk, like a picnic in the middle of a bustling city. Such simple meals can bring a warm and close-knit family feeling. For the middle class in large cities like Caracas, nightlife usually takes place in upscale bars and lounges. In prominent areas like Las Mercedes and Altamira, bars and nightclubs are still packed with people, with live music and cocktails helping them temporarily forget the chaos outside, even though power outages remain a problem. Many bar owners have prepared backup generators to ensure that the music and festive atmosphere are not interrupted in the middle of the night. If you want to experience a quieter Venezuela at night, stroll through the old town of El Hatillo or the city of Coro. The cobblestone streets, red-tiled roofs, and warm yellow lights reflecting on the walls create a rare sense of tranquility, one of the quiet moments in the heart of a turbulent country. Along the shores of Lake Maracaibo or the Orinoco River, you can see wooden boats gently gliding on the water or simply standing still, letting the cool river breeze blow over them, offering a relaxing feeling in the tropical heat. Number 10. Unsolved mysteries in Venezuela. Deep within the jungles of Bolivar State lies a mountain where time seems to stand still, Mount Roraima, a natural wonder situated at the crossroads of Venezuela, Brazil, and Guyana. Part of an ancient Tepuy plateau, its sheer cliffs rise hundreds of meters, and its flat summit resembles a giant tabletop, making it look like an island suspended in the sky. This is the mountain that inspired Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's novel, The Lost World, over a century ago. The most remarkable aspect of Roraima is its almost completely isolated apex ecosystem, allowing many plant and animal species to thrive only there. The flat summit and high altitude create a climate, humidity, and soil that differ significantly from the surrounding area, resulting in a unique world unlike any other. Many carnivorous plants and animals can only be found on this mountaintop, making it resemble a lost world, as described in imagination. The indigenous Pemon people once called these mountains Tepuy, meaning house of the gods. And legend says that Roraima was once the remains of a giant cosmic tree connecting heaven and earth. When the gods became angry, they cut down the tree, leaving a flat peak amidst the clouds as it is today. To this day, stories of strange sounds echoing through the rocks or faint lights piercing through the mist continue to be passed down, adding to the place's mystique for many. Besides the mystery of the ancient plateaus, Venezuela is also famous for another strange natural phenomenon, Catatumbo lightning. This is a unique atmospheric phenomenon in the world, occurring only at the mouth of the Catatumbo River, where it flows into Lake Maracaibo in Zulia State. Here, the sky is illuminated by lightning almost continuously for hours each night, about 140-160 nights a year, with a frequency of up to hundreds of flashes per hour. Wikipedia. Because this phenomenon occurs almost exclusively at a single geographical location, it has been called the endless lightning storm, and is also recorded as having the highest density of lightning in the world, creating countless flashes of light at night and earning Lake Maracaibo the nickname the Land of Light. Although scientists have put forward many theories, such as the collision of warm air currents from the Caribbean Sea and cold air from the Andes Mountains, or the unique topographical conditions of the area, the exact cause of the continuous Catatumbo lightning remains a subject of debate. Number 11. Attractive destinations in Venezuela. If there's one place that proves the perfection of nature, it's Angel Falls, the world's tallest waterfall, nearly 1 kilometer high, more than 10 times the height of Niagara Falls. The water cascades from the summit of Ollantaytambo, a sandstone plateau located over 2,500 meters above the lush Amazon rainforest. Interestingly, much of the water doesn't reach the ground but evaporates, creating a mist, and when sunlight shines on it, the mist forms rainbows, making the waterfall appear to glow. Legend has it that pilot Jimmy Angel was the first to discover the falls after a long flight. However, reaching Angel Falls is not easy. Visitors must travel by boat across the Churin River through the dense jungle and camp overnight before they can witness this colossal waterfall the following morning. Leaving the falls, you'll arrive at Canaima National Park, one of the world's largest national parks, covering an area almost the size of Belgium. This is where massive flat-topped rock formations create a unique, otherworldly landscape. Viewed from above, the entire area resembles a work of natural art, with winding rivers flowing between sheer cliffs and lush green forests. At the heart of the park is Lake Cana, its waters shimmering with a bronze-brown hue due to natural minerals. 7 small waterfalls cascade down from the red cliffs surrounding the lake, creating a scene that is both majestic and serene. Local guides will paddle wooden boats through the cascading waters, allowing visitors to enjoy this breathtaking natural beauty. Finally, Morcoy National Park on the coast is the ideal place to relax. With hundreds of small islands and white sandy beaches, Morcoy is a holiday paradise for many, notable for its coral reef ecosystem and crystal clear waters where you can see the seabed at depths of a meter or more. Number 12. Unique cultural festivals in Venezuela. If you visit Venezuela in June, you might encounter the San Juan Festival, one of the world's most unique festivals. This festival honors John the Baptist, and for 3 days the streets transform into a grand stage filled with drums, music, and boisterous dancing. The highlight is the Baila de Tambore, a traditional coastal drum dance where people move to the rhythm of Afro-Venezuelan drums, singing and praying for good weather and a bountiful harvest. Throughout the festival, social norms are often disrupted. Workers, farmers, and even the poor living in the lower classes are honored and can sing and tease even those of higher social standing without being considered disrespectful. Another equally famous festival is the Dancing Devils Festival in the town of San Francisco de Yar, held on Eucharistic Day. This is a long-standing religious tradition and has been recognized by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. On this day, hundreds of men dressed as devils, wearing bright red masks with twisted horns and flamboyant costumes, parade through the streets. But this dance isn't meant to scare anyone. It symbolizes the battle between good and evil. As the drums beat, the devils advance towards the church, kneeling before the Blessed Sacrament to demonstrate the victory of light over darkness. People believe that each devil mask is unique and contains the soul of its wearer. If you visit in February, the El Callao Carnival is Venezuela's most famous masquerade festival. El Callao, once a gold mining center in the 19th century and home to many Caribbean immigrants, has created a vibrant and multicultural carnival. Throughout the festival, the streets are filled with color, music, and dance. Calypso music, steel drums, and soca rhythms resound as people parade in their magnificent costumes. Queens, pirates, and dancers wear enormous feathered headdresses. Women twirl in layered beaded dresses, dancing non-stop under the Sunday tropical sun. Notably, many songs are performed in a mix of English and Creole, reflecting the region's multicultural origins. Although inspired by the Carnival of Trinidad and Tobago, Carnaval de El Callao still exudes its own unique identity with a blend of African rhythms, Latin energy, and the free spirit characteristic of Venezuela. Number 13. The distinctive culinary culture of Venezuela. If you had to choose one dish that best represents Venezuelan culinary culture, arepa would top the list. Arepa is a type of bread made from white or yellow cornmeal, baked or deep-fried until crispy, then halved and filled with a variety of fillings. It's found everywhere, from breakfast and lunch restaurants to late-night street food stalls. Some versions of arepa are so famous they're featured on international menus, such as Reina Pepiada, an arepa with shredded chicken and avocado filling, named after the winner of a Venezuelan beauty pageant. What makes arepa so appealing is not just its flavor, but its boundless versatility. Venezuelans can transform arepa into a main course with fillings like shredded beef and sauce, fresh seafood, fragrant black beans, or simply melted cheese. In Caracas and many other cities, arepa restaurants are often open 24 hours a day because for the locals, there's no inappropriate time to eat arepa. If arepa is the national bread, then pabellón criollo is a more profound symbol of Venezuelan cuisine. This traditional dish is often featured at holidays and family gatherings. A full plate of pabellón criollo consists of shredded beef cooked in tomato sauce, white rice, stewed black beans, and crispy fried green plantains. These three components not only create a balance of flavors, but also carry cultural significance. The colors white, black, and yellow represent the three main cultures that shaped Venezuela: European, African, and indigenous. Another impressive dish you must try is cachapa, a thick pancake made from freshly ground corn flour. Cachapa are fried golden brown on both sides, then folded in half with a layer of melted cheese inside. The natural sweetness of corn combined with the richness of cheese creates a dish that is both familiar and unique. You can easily find cachapa sold at street vendors and next to small cafes, as a quick breakfast for working people. During Christmas, Venezuelans come together to make halaka, a dish symbolizing family unity and end-of-year traditions, similar to the Vietnamese sticky rice cake, bánh chưng. Halaka is wrapped in banana leaves and filled with cornmeal, beef, chicken, olives, raisins, and a rich blend of spices. Interestingly, many Venezuelan families don't just see halaka as a food item. They consider the act of making halaka together a ritual, a gathering where people tell stories, play music, and share the end-of-year atmosphere. In many regions, the halaka recipe is passed down from generation to generation, with each family having its own secret recipe for seasoning and wrapping. Number 14. Costs of food, accommodation, and transportation in Venezuela. When planning a trip to Venezuela, researching the cost of living beforehand is essential to ensure you have a solid financial foundation and avoid unnecessary problems. In Caracas, the capital and largest economic center, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in the city center is around $300 to $450 per month. While this is high compared to the general average, it is still significantly lower than other Latin American capitals like Buenos Aires or Santiago de Chile. If you want to save money, choosing accommodation in the suburbs, with prices ranging from $150 to $250 per month, is very common and still relatively convenient. Regarding transportation, Caracas has the Metro de Caracas subway system, making travel within the city cheap and fast, with fares typically as low as $0.051 per ride, one of the cheapest in the region. Public buses and ride-sharing services are also cost-effective and convenient for exploring local life. If you want to get around faster and more comfortably, taxis or ride-hailing apps like Ridery and Yummy Visla are quite popular, averaging $2 USD for short trips within the city. And if you want to drive yourself to explore further, renting a car for around $30–45 USD day is also a popular choice for many tourists. The cost of food in Venezuela is generally quite reasonable. If you cook your own meals and buy ingredients from traditional markets or inexpensive supermarkets, your monthly food budget can be around $100 to $150 USD. Eating out at budget restaurants usually costs around $2 to $3 USD per meal, while restaurants catering to tourists or more upscale establishments can charge $8 to $15 USD per meal, a relatively affordable price if you know how to choose the right places. In general, with a frugal lifestyle and avoiding excessive spending, the total monthly cost of living in Venezuela can range from $500 to $700 USD month. For those following a minimalist lifestyle, this figure can even be as low as $400 USD month, especially if you choose to rent accommodation outside the city center, cook your own meals, and use public transportation. Number 15. Notes for tourists. One of the most common scams targeting tourists in Venezuela involves criminals impersonating police or security personnel to steal belongings. In many cases, the imposter wears a uniform and requests to see your documents right on the street. To avoid falling for this, never give your real passport to anyone unless you are in an official government office with clear signage. If someone asks to see your documents on the street, politely ask to go to the nearest police station to verify with them. Pickpocketing and bag snatching are also common in popular tourist spots, bus stations, and local markets. Criminal groups often work together. One person distracts you while another quickly takes your belongings. The best way to protect yourself is to use a crossbody bag with a secure zipper, keep your bag in front of your body, and never leave your phone or wallet in your back pocket. You should avoid openly holding your phone, camera, or laptop in crowded places, especially when walking or sitting in outdoor cafes. In just seconds, a thief can snatch the device and disappear into the crowd. In large cities like Caracas, serious crimes such as kidnapping for ransom still occur, so tourists should avoid going alone into poor neighborhoods, alleyways, or deserted areas, even during the day. If you want to explore places further afield beyond the main attractions, consider going with a licensed local guide for safety. When you need transportation, don't hail a taxi randomly on the street. It's best to book a ride through a reliable app or ask hotel staff to arrange it for you. And those are 15 interesting facts about Venezuela, from culture and customs to the cost of living and travel tips. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next adventures. Which information about Venezuela impressed you the most? Leave a comment below to share.